I want to talk to you about the ESG movement in this country. A lot of people actually, when I'm running for president now, they got to know me this past year, say, hey, love what you're saying, but you came from nowhere. It's not quite true. If you've been following me for the last several years, I've been arguably the leading opponent in terms of actually doing something to stop the ESG movement and its spread in America. I'll tell you what it is, and it's not some technical financial concept alone. It goes to the heart of what the American Revolution was actually fought to protect: self-governance in this country. ESG refers to environmental, social, and governance factors. Sounds benign enough, and then they make it an acronym to make it sound boring. That's on purpose. The more boring it is, the more you have to pay attention. That's my rule of thumb. It's designed to be soporific, to put you to sleep. Anyway, what they're doing is, this refers to a trend where they're using your own money, not your votes at the ballot box, something far more regular, something far more daily, your own money to vote for environmental, social, and governance agendas in corporate America's boardrooms that you didn't support. How are they using your money to do it? It's your 401k account, your retirement account, your brokerage account that holds stocks. It holds these shares, shares in publicly traded companies. But those shares give you and entitle you to a vote on things like who's hired and fired at the board of directors, which decides the pay of the CEO, how those board members are paid, things like that. Well, it also decides what the policies are that are set for that company. So here's a couple facts you probably didn't know. Most of you probably had your money used to vote for Scope 3 emissions caps at Chevron in the last several years. Did you know that? No, you didn't. Did it advance your best financial interests? Absolutely not. In fact, Scope 3 emissions caps constrain what a company can and cannot do. It says they have to reduce the emissions caps not only of their own company, but reduce the emissions of their entire supply chain. There's no way that works in the interest of Chevron. But they're using your money, which is used to own shares of a broad stock market basket that includes Chevron, to constrain what Chevron's able to do in the name of this ESG movement. Your money was almost certainly used in the last couple of years, if you own money in broad index funds or the stock market via BlackRock or State Street or countless others, to vote for racial equity audits at Apple a couple of years ago. Now, does that help Apple become a better company, more competitive with Chinese competitors or others who don't have those racial equity audits in their hiring practices? Of course not. It's worse for Apple. And the funny thing is, actually, even the boards of Chevron and Apple were against each of those policies before the shareholders, who are the shareholders? You, your money, was used to vote in favor of those policies over the objection of the management teams of those companies. So that's what's going on. Those are two examples among many. Your own money is being used to advance agendas that are counter to your own views, but even more perniciously, against your own best financial interests. That's what the ESG movement is all about. It's effectively blue state pension funds and government actors being able to use financial institutions like BlackRock to do through the back door what they could not get done through the front door under the Constitution of this country. This is arguably the largest scale violation of trust, fiduciary breach in human history. A fiduciary breach refers to somebody who's managing your money. They owe you a fiduciary duty. That's the highest duty of loyalty that they could owe you. Well, they're breaching that to advance somebody else's agenda. It's arguably a large-scale antitrust violation. BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, these three firms alone are the largest shareholders and the ones that sway the votes from competitors, from Coca-Cola to Pepsi, from Disney to Paramount Pictures, from Chevron to Exxon. You think we have competitive free market capitalism, but not when the same puppet masters are pulling the strings of those same companies. It's also arguably, even when they use pension fund money to give it to these firms, a First Amendment violation. Those who are pensioners, those are government employees, they're forced to give their money in the pension funds that then go to the likes of BlackRock, who are effectively speaking on their behalf on what are fundamentally political questions. So my first book, Woke Inc., was all about this. I wrote that several years ago. I followed up, actually, my third book was a sequel to that called Capitalist Punishment that laid this out into detail. I'm not just an author, I'm an entrepreneur. It's what I've done for most of my career, long before I started writing books. I decided to put that skill set to work. I started a company called Strive to compete directly against BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. But that's what I've been doing before I ran for president. And so anyway, for those who wondered, oh, this guy came out of nowhere, not quite, do your homework. But it's not about me. It's about the fact that this agenda now is taking new forms. After I went on my assault of this movement's intellectual core, what happened was they started going by new names. So BlackRock stopped using the word ESG. They're now using the word sustainable investing. So this is where our movement needs to know that you got to stay one step ahead of where the other side is. We're too easily duped, actually. That's part of why I'm in this. Who cares about the verbiage? ESG, SG, doesn't matter. DEI, CEI, it doesn't matter. Forget the acronyms. Get to the heart of what's going on. And in this case, your own dollars are being weaponized against your own best financial interests. But now in an election year, it gets a little bit more pernicious than that. It takes a darker turn. Larry Fink, he's the CEO of BlackRock, a board member of the World Economic Forum, the guy who's the king of this woke industrial complex, arguably the most powerful person in the private sector, deciding how shares are voted in corporate America's boardrooms. But in this election year, it's taken a darker turn. They're not just controlling corporate America. They're not just controlling the way political process is run through the super PAC industrial complex and otherwise. They're controlling the party that you think you're a member of, the Republican Party itself. And I think there's a game unfolding in plain sight that people have missed. A lot of Republicans, I think, have been trained. We should have been. Not even Republicans, Americans. Forget the Republican Party. They're just a subsidiary of this ESG movement in its own right. It's deeper than that. There's something else going on in plain sight this year where the same puppet masters who were pulling the strings of corporate America are now pulling the strings of, I think, the political process, including in the Republican Party itself. That's a devious game. I'll have more to say about that soon, but for now, I just wanted people to understand the table stakes of what's been going on in the ESG movement. That's bad enough. Understand that. Understand how your 401k account, your brokerage account, etc. is being weaponized. That's step one. Once you understand that, we'll get to the devious part of what's actually happening in 2024.
For more videos like this, please smash the subscribe button and don't forget to like the video. We really appreciate it. Thanks for watching the America Truth channel.